Part 1, the retreat that looks real, but isn't. Let me ask you something. What if the next major war doesn't begin with a loud explosion, but with something that looks like weakness? What if what the world calls hesitation is actually positioning? What if what looks like retreat is really bait? That's exactly why some people keep looking at Joshua 8. On the surface, it's an ancient battle story. But underneath it, there's a chilling pattern. Israel had already lost once at Ai. So when they came back and appeared to run again, the men of Ai thought, we've seen this before. They're beaten. They rushed out of their city to chase what looked like an easy victory. But it was a trap. The city was left exposed. Hidden forces moved in. Fire rose behind them. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Now think about today. The tension between the United States of America and Iran has become one of the most dangerous pressure points on Earth. Every few months the world hears the same words: sanctions, retaliation, strikes, proxies, shipping lanes, nuclear concerns, red lines. And yet, what if the real story isn't what we're being shown? America often looks tired right now. Endless debt. Political division. Global commitments everywhere. Many enemies would assume it no longer has the appetite for another full confrontation. Iran often looks cornered. Sanctions pressure. Economic pain. Regional enemies. Internal frustrations. Many assume time is running out for Tehran. But here's where Joshua 8 becomes interesting. Sometimes both sides want the other side to believe a story. America may want its enemies to think it is too distracted to act decisively. Iran may want its enemies to think pressure no longer matters and resistance has already won. Each side may be presenting weakness while hiding strength. That is how dangerous wars begin. Because once leaders believe their own narrative, they make moves they cannot undo. Imagine this scenario. Iran pushes harder through regional proxies. Shipping routes tighten. Missile threats rise. Washington delays publicly, debates loudly, looks divided on television. Markets calm themselves and assume nothing major is coming. Then suddenly, naval assets already in place. Intelligence networks activated. Cyber operations launched. Regional allies move in sync. Command targets hit in hours. What looked like indecision becomes coordination. But it can work the other way too. America could believe Iran is weaker than it is. Then discover too late that underground infrastructure, proxy forces, asymmetric warfare, and energy leverage were underestimated. That's the real warning of Joshua 8. The danger is not just military power. It is misreading the moment. I lost because it thought it understood the battlefield. It was fighting yesterday's war with yesterday's assumptions. How many nations still do that? Now bring in the global system. One strike in the Gulf can shake oil prices worldwide. One blocked route can hit inflation everywhere. One regional war can become a political crisis in countries thousands of miles away. So if conflict erupts, it may not stay between two flags for long. And this is where prophecy watchers begin connecting it to Ezekiel 38, because they believe the first war may not be the final war. They see an early conflict weakening powers, reshaping alliances, and preparing the stage for something even larger later. In simple terms, Joshua the 8th may describe the tactic. Ezekiel 38 may describe the aftermath. Whether you believe that or not, the pattern is worth thinking about. Because history has shown us again and again, the side that looks strongest is sometimes already exposed, and the side that looks weak may already be moving. So ask yourself, if a retreat appeared on your screen tomorrow, would it be real? Or would the trap already be set? Part 2, the fire behind the walls. Let me tell you where this gets darker. Most people think wars are won at the front line. Missiles. Jets. Tanks. Soldiers. Headlines. But some of the most devastating victories in history happened behind the walls, where nobody was looking. That's what makes Joshua 8 so unsettling. While the men of Ai were chasing what they thought was a retreat, their city was already being taken. Smoke began rising behind them. The place they assumed was secure was already burning. And by the time they turned around, everything had changed. Now think about modern conflict. If tension between the United States of America and Iran ever explodes into something larger, the biggest damage may not happen where cameras are focused. It may happen in the rear. Because in today's world, a city is no longer just streets and buildings. A city can be power grids, banking systems, internet infrastructure, ports, pipelines, satellite networks, public morale, supply chains. That means fire does not always come as flames. Sometimes fire comes as collapse. Imagine waking up to this. Oil surges overnight. Shipping halts. Cyber attacks freeze payments. Fuel shortages begin. Grocery prices jump. Flights are delayed. Markets panic. Rumors spread faster than facts. Politicians blame each other. Social media becomes chaos. No invasion force crossed your border. But your city is burning. That is how modern warfare works. And this is why some prophecy watchers say Joshua 8 is more relevant now than ever. Not because armies still fight the same way, but because deception, distraction, and rear strike tactics have evolved. One side draws attention outward. The real damage happens inward. Now let's talk about Iran specifically. Many analysts believe Iran's greatest strengths are not conventional battlefield power, but asymmetric pressure. Proxy militias across the region. Missile saturation tactics. Maritime disruption. Cyber capability. Strategic geography around the Strait of Hormuz. That means even if Iran were militarily pressured, it could still ignite pain far beyond its borders. But there's another side to the story. Iran also has vulnerabilities behind its own walls. Economic strain. Youth frustration. Internal dissent. Sanctions fatigue. Infrastructure exposure. Elite political tensions. So if conflict intensifies, the fire may burn both ways. America could feel inflation, market shock, and political division. Iran could feel internal unrest, financial collapse, and strategic isolation. And that's what makes this kind of confrontation so dangerous. Both sides may believe they can absorb pressure. Both sides may discover the rear is weaker than they thought. This is where the prophetic lens grows darker. Because many who study Ezekiel 38 believe modern Iran, ancient Persia in the text, does not disappear in an early crisis. Instead, they believe it survives, wounded perhaps, but more deeply aligned with larger Eastern powers later. So the first fire may not destroy the player. It may forge the alliance. Think about that. Sometimes nations do not unite in peace. They unite in resentment. If Iran emerges humiliated, sanctioned harder, and pushed closer to rival blocs, then the conflict that was meant to contain it could actually reposition it for the future. That has happened many times in history. A war meant to solve one threat often creates the next one. Joshua 8 teaches that by the time smoke rises, the decisive move may already have happened. And in our time, smoke can rise in many forms. Empty shelves. Blacked out cities. Broken currencies. Blocked waterways. Fractured alliances. Public fear. No trumpet sounds. No sword flashes. Yet the walls are on fire. So ask yourself something honest. If the next war begins, will you recognize it? Or will you wait for tanks while the systems around you quietly burn? Because in the age we live in, the city can fall long before the first soldier arrives. Part 3, the coalition after the crisis. Now let's go to the part many people never think about. What happens after the first war? Because history shows us something uncomfortable: the first conflict is often not the final conflict. It is the event that rearranges the board. Borders may stay the same, but alliances change. Economies weaken. Leaders fall. New powers step forward. Old powers step back. That is where many prophecy watchers connect Joshua 8 with Ezekiel 38. Joshua 8 shows the tactical trap. Ezekiel 38, they believe, shows the larger coalition that forms after chaos. In that chapter, Persia, which many identify with modern Iran, is listed among nations gathered in a future alliance led by a northern power. Whether symbolic or literal, the image is clear: countries once isolated become connected by common interests, shared enemies, and strategic opportunity. And that is exactly how coalitions are often born. Not through friendship. Through pressure. Imagine a scenario where tensions between the United States of America and Iran lead to a serious regional war. Maybe America wins militarily. Maybe Iran absorbs damage but survives. Maybe neither side gets the clean victory they expected. Then what? Oil shocks damage global markets. Political anger rises in Western nations. Military fatigue grows. Regional governments start hedging their bets. Rival powers begin offering weapons, investment, intelligence, and diplomatic cover. That is how influence shifts. Not always through invasion. Sometimes through exhaustion. A superpower can win the battle and still lose momentum. We've seen it before. The cost of victory can be so high that it opens doors elsewhere. Now imagine Iran, weakened but not broken, moving deeper into partnerships with Eastern powers. Shared sanctions pressure. Shared hostility toward Western dominance. Shared interest in new trade corridors, new currency systems, and military coordination. Suddenly, what looked like a contained Middle East conflict becomes part of a wider global realignment. That is why some people read Ezekiel 38 with fresh interest in times like these. They believe crisis pulls nations together faster than diplomacy ever could. And let's be honest, today's world already feels like it's moving in blocks. One side talks security. Another talks sovereignty. Another talks multipolar power. Another talks survival. When those forces collide, strange alliances become possible. Joshua 8 also reminds us that pride can blind leaders. I believed the battle was already won. Modern nations can do the same. They assume technology guarantees victory. They assume money guarantees stability. They assume old alliances will always hold. Then suddenly, markets fracture. Allies hesitate. Supply chains fail. Unrest spreads. Rivals coordinate. The board changes in months. This is why some analysts say the greatest danger is not a missile launch. It is strategic miscalculation. A nation may think it is punishing an enemy, while actually driving that enemy into stronger partnerships. Another nation may think it is staying neutral, while quietly losing relevance. Another may think distance protects it, until global crisis and instability arrive at its own doorstep. And for ordinary people watching all this, the feeling can be heavy. You see headlines. You hear threats. You wonder where it all leads. But here is the deeper truth many forget: even when nations shake, people still choose how they respond. Fear is contagious, but so is wisdom. Panic spreads fast, but faith can steady a person in unstable times. So whether someone sees these chapters as prophecy, symbolism, or ancient history, there is still a lesson. Don't let chaos make your decisions for you. Stay awake. Stay grounded. Stay discerning. And remember this clearly before we end: this entire discussion is speculative. Nothing is set in stone. No modern event is guaranteed to unfold in this way. Human choices matter. Leadership matters. Prayer matters. Peace is always possible. So choose faith over fear. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Joshua 8 and Ezekiel 38 have relevance today, or are people forcing ancient texts into modern headlines? Drop your view in the comments and join the conversation respectfully. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share so more people can be part of these discussions.